Okay, so in this video we're going to install a molecular spray electrospray deposition source on this gate valve here. It's a 2 3/4 inch gate valve, and this is the test chamber, and we can use this for making depositions, but also opposite the gate valve is a BNC connector, and that is attached to a target on the inside that's exactly opposite the gate valve, and we can use that to measure the ion current that's hitting it. So at the moment the electrospray is just secured with the top and the bottom pin bolt or threaded stud that's coming from the valve. These three socket cap screws, these screws or bolts are the ones that hold the exit aperture in place in alignment with the rest of the system, and so we don't want to disturb these at all. And then we need to either put the correct length bolts through the other four holes, or find some studs that will go in there that will allow us to tighten this up. Now when we tighten up all of the 6 bolts that are fastening the electrospray to the gate valve, then these may become slightly slacker, so we can just take up the slack here as this gasket is compressed even further. Now in all of this system the gaskets are Viton, and I've used a Viton gasket here between the electrospray and the valve as well, because a copper one is not necessary, and it means that I can remove it and I don't have to, I can reuse the same gasket. Okay, so now I've mounted the electrospray on the valve, and the 6 nuts are tight on the pin bolt, and I did tighten these socket cap screws just a little bit, and you can see I have this in the orientation where the stage 1 and 2 ports are pointing downwards, and the turbo pump port for stage 3 is horizontal. The electrospray itself is now horizontal as well. None of that matters. I could have mounted it in any orientation. This is just convenient for attaching the pumps. So I'm going to go ahead and attach the pumps. The first thing I'm going to do is attach the turbo molecular pump stage first, and then I'll attach the scroll pumps to stages 1 and 2. So for the purposes of this demonstration and test, I've attached the turbo stage using the bellows down to a high cube, which is essentially a high pace 80 with an integrated diaphragm pump. Now the alternative is to attach the high pace 80 or any small turbo pump directly to the pumping flange of stage 3. So we would possibly take a pump like this and attach it directly there. But like I said, for the purposes of this test, I'm just using the high cube because that's what's readily at hand. Okay, so now we're going to attach the scroll pumps to stages 1 and 2. Okay, so now I've attached stage 2 to one of these SH110 scroll pumps, and I've used a reducing O-ring in here to go from KF16 to KF10. Now I'll do the same on the other port that you can just see in there. So now both stages are connected, and there's no significance to the fact that the scroll pump attached to stage 1 is a polymer tube rather than a steel bellows. It's just what was available. So I'll go ahead and start the pumps, and while it's pumping down we can attach some of the other ancillaries. Alright, so while the pumps are pumping down, I want to install an electrospray emitter. Now the ones that I'm using are these from Pepsap, and they come embedded in this foam case, so they look like there's none in here, but if you look closely you'll see some. If you peel back the foam, you'll see a little yellow sleeve. Now that yellow sleeve is over the sharp end of the emitter, and it's just to keep it safe in transit. We're going to remove that, and we're going to put our own yellow sleeve on it so that it fits into the electrospray T. So on the right you'll see the emitter with the protective yellow sleeve on it, and I'm going to take that one off, and I'm going to put this one on. Now I'm going to slide this one on from the blunt end so that I don't damage the sharp tip that's underneath the protective sleeve. And then I'm going to slide it on just so that there's a little tiny bit of the stainless steel emitter on the blunt end, protruding just beyond the sleeve, and then I can insert it into the electrospray T. I have a syringe pump here, and I have a 10 milliliter syringe full of methanol. Well, it's not full, and that's now attached to the electrospray T, and I'm going to set a flow rate of 0.1 milliliters per hour, and then I'm going to press the pump button to purge, which will send liquid down towards the emitter, and I'll just keep looking at the emitter to see if we get any liquid emerging, or if we get any liquid emerging from where we don't want it. On the end, if I focus there on the end, you'll see a droplet of liquid just emerging from the end of the emitter. Okay, so now we have liquid flow, and now we need to apply the high voltage to that with respect to this entrance capillary. Now the entrance capillary is grounded to the chamber, and the chamber is grounded to the main system, and the main system is grounded to the same ground as the power supply that we're going to use to apply the high voltage, which is this one, and so that shares the same ground through its DC low voltage power supply that powers it. So that attaches to that central pin. This is, you can just see in there, and held in place with this screw. So here I've got the high voltage cable, which is attached to the pin, and it's held in place by that clamp, and then that cable goes to the MV5 Plus, and that is powered by its own 24 volt DC power supply behind it, and so we're almost ready to spray. So we just have to set the distance between the end of the emitter and the entrance capillary. We set that to about 2 millimeters, 1.5 millimeters maybe, and then we can turn on the voltage and observe the spray. Now,